Hi, here's my review of the papers I saw yesterday and this last week. There was a lot of law involved here, and here's a checklist for what you should have found. Federal and state archaeological laws, both statute and CFR, regulations. Trespass, civil and criminal. Washington State Parks information, particularly regarding the two parks that the individual wanted to see. The common law of finders. A lot of people didn't get that one. Um, it was interesting doctrine. And the RCW on found items. Some people also found the common law of treasure trove and things like that. The best papers had a statement that said essentially there are a lot of overlapping laws in this area, and you have to weave them together to make sense of them and get an overall picture of what the legal backdrop is. It's always good to analyze for your reader, not just do the what we call dump and run. Here's a list of common errors. Dump and run is when you find a law, quote it, stick it in the paper, and don't analyze it. Think of it as giving us undigested fiber. You need to analyze or digest the law and make it plain and easy and simple for the reader. When somebody does a dump and run, what they're essentially saying is, yeah, I know the law means something here, but I'm not quite sure, so I'm just going to let the reader figure it out. I've done my job by giving them the law. Not true. You've got to actually analyze the law. And quite a few people had that problem. I would say probably a third to half of the class had that problem. So you're not alone if you're in that situation. What you might be saying to yourself is, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to analyze it. Just imagine what the reader would want to know. I think the reader would want to know what is an archaeological item. And how that's defined between the federal and the state. A few people did point that out, that the federal government has a 100-year rule and Washington State has a 30-year rule. I think that would be important and significant, but very few people got that. Another thing the reader might want to know is, what are the consequences if I were to take something that was protected? I don't think anybody really addressed that. Is it a penalty? Is it a criminal issue? I could be wrong, but I don't remember people addressing the consequences. Many of you need comma therapy. In particular, too little, too many. I go by the sound rule. How does it sound? Is there a natural pause when you read something? If there is, you inject a comma. If there isn't, then you don't. However, there are more formal methods of training on comma usage, which I'm going to assign to you for the discussion board this next week. So fear not, you will get your experience with commas on a more formal basis. But as you can see from this sample, let's eat, Grandma, versus let's eat grandma. Two totally different things. And then I injected an error into my own slide where I have possessives with an apostrophe, and it really needn't have an apostrophe. So I'm going to post some things on Angel about possessives and how they should best be addressed. I would say 80% of you had this problem. Looking at the next slide, 100% of you had the problem of lack of citation. So the basic rule is every single legal assertion needs a cite. There are no exceptions to that. Every sentence that contains or refers to a legal assertion needs a cite. Let that sink in. Let that flow through your body. Let it reach you at a cellular level. Yes, that's true, friends. Every single legal reference. So sometimes it's just saying id. Sometimes it's using a short form. Now, I didn't hold you to Blue Book this time, so I don't expect that. But I do expect you to be doing that on your future situations. The truth is, sad but real, what you say doesn't matter. What somebody else what the law says is what matters. So you can tell me until you're blue in the face what a particular legal rule is, and I don't care unless you have the citation to back it up. Okay, so and I mean every sentence. No exceptions. I know when I see your paper this next time you're going to say, "Oh, well, this is obvious." No, every sentence. Okay. I found this is a little more subtle, but in general, you should have a transition sentence at the bottom of one paragraph that moves toward the next, that points to or kind of suggests what the next topic is going to be. And in the same vein, then you would have a new topic sentence for new paragraphs. So I didn't often see topic sentences for new paragraphs or transition sentences. And that's just a way of making it easier for the reader and bringing them along with you more carefully. I'll see if I can provide some examples for that. Also, sentence fragments, that is when it's essentially a failure to cite check. You're supposed to have a subject, verb, and an object, and sometimes people leave out the subject or the verb. Most likely it's the subject they leave out, and that makes it hard to read a whole sentence. So it's a cite checking problem. Here's the next slide of common errors. You do need a hyphen between compound adjectives. By compound adjectives, I just mean two or more. So look at the difference between a heavy metal detector, which is something that detects heavy metals, or a heavy metal detector. That's quite a big difference. I saw a lot of inconsistency with the way people capitalize proper nouns like Washington State, or, what do you do when you have State of Washington? I'll post something on that and let you peruse that, or I'll make it part of an assignment that you've got to do for Angel for next week. Also, there's a practice called line by line editing, which I think nobody does here. We did it in law school, and it was really important when I was on law review. You take a ruler and you print out your paper. It's hard to do this on the screen. And by the way, how are you guys doing that? Are you printing things out or are you looking on the screen? That could make a big difference in your editing. Take a ruler, go line by line, and look for consistency, look for grammar, look for typos. There should be no typos when you submit something. None. Zero. If When I was practicing, when I was a law clerk, if I saw a typo in a document, it meant to me they were not careful about their editing, which means they might not have been careful about their law. So I immediately detracted from their credibility, and I immediately didn't count or trust their work. That's a big penalty to pay for it, just having a typo. And then inconsistent spacing after a period, either one or two, I don't care, just make it consistent. Ultimately, the old rule used to be two spaces. I think I've heard now that one space is more common, but just when you get out and practice, check with your firm. Now we're moving on to my pet peeves. Spelling my name wrong. I don't really care, to be honest, if you spell my name wrong, but what I want is for when you get in a work setting that you spell your attorneys' names correctly. And it seems to me you should start here in school. Yeah, my name is spelled kind of weird, but you've seen me write, you've seen it written before correctly, so you should spell it correctly. It's a respect thing, and you don't want to do anything that's disrespectful to your attorneys unless you are in the process of flipping them off and telling them you're going to go to a new job, which I don't think many of us will do. The next thing is look carefully when you have the word that in the middle of a sentence. Look carefully to the left of that word and ask yourself, does it truly add anything important? Sometimes we have a lot of things like fillers or just kind of nice words that don't really add anything. So look to the left of that and see if it truly adds anything important. My personal pet peeve is footnotes. I don't like them. I was trained to not do footnotes. The idea here is, at least according to my judge, If you have a footnote, what you're saying is it's not important enough to go in the text, but you're taking the reader away from the main thrust of your argument to look all the way down at the bottom, and it really takes away from the bigger picture. So, and I would avoid footnotes unless your attorney is in favor of them. But I think the trend is away from footnotes in legal writing, uh, except for in law review articles, which you'll rarely do as paralegals in the legal setting. Okay, that's it for now. I'm going to turn to the next week.